There are places on this planet where the next human being might be hundreds of kilometers away, where mail comes once a year, and the internet is just a rumor. From islands lost in the ocean to valleys untouched by modern sound, these are the corners of the Earth that remain almost completely alone. Halfway between South America and Africa, a tiny green island rises from the South Atlantic. It's called Tristan da Cunha, a volcanic speck only about 11 kilometers across, which is home to 240 people. The nearest land is St. Helena, 2,400 kilometers away, and the nearest continent of Africa is more than 2,800 kilometers. There are no airports, one single harbor, and a supply ship visits from Cape Town about 9 times a year if the sea allows. The island's border is its coastline. Steep cliffs surround most of it, and one narrow road connects the settlement of Edinburgh of the Seven Seas to the potato patches further inland. Power comes from diesel generators, internet from a single satellite link. Children study British curriculum in a school that closes when the ocean is too rough for mail delivery. And if Tristan is isolation in the middle of the ocean, there's another place where it means ice instead of water. Don't forget to subscribe. On the northern tip of Ellesmere Island lies Alert, the northernmost permanently inhabited place on Earth. Only 817 kilometers from the North Pole, its coordinates sit above 82 degrees north. Alert's neighbors are polar bears, Arctic foxes, and shifting fields of pack ice, and the nearest community is nearly 800 kilometers south. The only way in or out is by military aircraft, and for 6 months of the year the sun doesn't rise. For the other 6, it never truly sets. It's a military and research station, not a town, rotating teams of about 50 people that monitor weather, satellites, and signals. Temperatures drop routinely below 40 degrees Celsius, and every arrival has to bring their own food, fuel, and patience. And if Alert lives on the edge of the Arctic, one settlement hides on the opposite end of the planet, where isolation means surviving eternal wind instead of endless night. At the southern tip of Ross Island, McMurdo Station is Antarctica's largest outpost, sitting roughly 3,800 kilometers south of New Zealand and separated by the most treacherous sea on Earth. In summer, 1,000 scientists and workers live there, and in winter there are barely 200. McMurdo has roads, vehicles, and a harbor, but they serve no world beyond the continent itself. Planes arrive during a brief summer window when the weather's warm enough, and everything from coffee to construction materials come by ship or air. Despite the scale, it's technically not connected to any nation's network. There are no towns beyond, no highways leading away, only glaciers, volcanic rock, and a silence blocked by generators and Antarctic wind. But isolation doesn't always need ice. In the middle of the Pacific, one island nation is so remote that every flight and shipment has to cross thousands of kilometers of ocean just to reach it. Halfway between New Zealand and South America lies Pitcairn Island, one of the world's most inaccessible communities. Its population of about 50 descended largely from the HMS Bounty mutineers and their Polynesian companions. With no airport, supplies arrive about 4 times a year by cargo ship, a journey of more than 5,000 kilometers. The island covers only 4.5 square kilometers of volcanic rock surrounded by steep cliffs and pounding surf. The nearest inhabited land is in French Polynesia, 2,000 kilometers away. Pitcairn is internet via satellite, but weather often knocks it out. And for residents, isolation is not a challenge, it's a way of life. Every home maintains its own garden, its own water collection, and backup generator. Across another ocean, one village survives amongst mountains so high and steep that isolation doesn't come from distance, but from elevation. At over 5,000 meters above sea level, La Rinconada clings to the edge of a glacier in the Peruvian Andes. Roads do reach it, but only dirt tracks, treacherous and often blocked by snow or landslides. The nearest major city is hundreds of kilometers away, and oxygen levels are less than half of what they are at sea level. With about 40,000 residents, it's not small, but its environment isolates it more completely than distance. Trucks struggle to climb the thin air roads, medical help can take days to arrive, and the economy revolves around gold mining, mostly by hand, with a town that lacks running water and sanitation. At night, the temperatures drop below freezing in the summer, and living there means constant altitude sickness, frozen ground, and the sky so close you'll feel the planet's curvature. But while it sits closest to the heavens, another community hides below the ocean storms, surrounded by cliffs and fjords that trap it like a forgotten world. Greenland is enormous, yet nearly all of its people live along the west coast. On the far east lies Itakatormi, a town of roughly 350 people surrounded by ice 9 months out of the year. The nearest settlement is over 800 kilometers away, and no roads exist. A single helicopter connects the town with a small airstrip 40 kilometers away when the weather allows, and supplies come in by ship once every summer. It sits at the mouth of the world's largest fjord system where sea ice locks ships out for most of the year. Polar bears will sometimes wander through the outskirts, seals are hunted for food and fuel, and the internet is limited. Daylight disappears entirely for months. Greenland shows isolation by nature, but one island in the Indian Ocean shows isolation by choice. In the Bay of Bengal between India and Myanmar lies North Sentinel Island, part of India's Andaman Islands. It's roughly 60 square kilometers of dense forest surrounded by coral reefs and home to one of the world's last uncontacted peoples, the Sentinelese. The Indian government forbids anyone from approaching closer than 5 kilometers. The Sentinelese have resisted every attempt at contact. Visiting ships have been met with arrows. They live without metal tools, electricity, or agriculture, surviving by hunting and gathering as their ancestors have for thousands of years. Satellite photos show small huts and canoes pulled above the tide line, but no roads or clearings. The rest of the world moves at the speed of fiber optics, and North Sentinel Island lives outside of time. Yet isolation isn't always natural or cultural. Sometimes it's engineered by geography itself, a strip of rock where only scientists and seabirds can survive. In the South Atlantic between Africa and Antarctica lies Bouvet Island, a Norwegian territory often called the most remote island on Earth. The nearest land, Queen Maud Land in Antarctica, is over 1,700 kilometers away. Cape Town, more than 2,500. It's almost entirely covered by glaciers, and its coasts are surrounded by 50-meter cliffs. Landing is so difficult that most expeditions use helicopters, and there are no permanent residents, just temporary research teams. It sits at the heart of the South Atlantic Gyre, where ocean currents circle endlessly, isolating it from even other islands. And for most of the year, waves can get up to 10 meters, and fog covers everything. It's the closest place that Earth has to a natural fortress. But true isolation doesn't always mean cold or emptiness. There's a valley where even radio waves struggle to reach by design. In the mountains of West Virginia and parts of Virginia and Maryland lies a 34,000 square kilometer region where modern wireless technology is restricted. Known as the National Radio Quiet Zone, it protects the Greenbank Telescopione of the world's most sensitive radio observatories from interference. Inside the zone, Wi-Fi, cell towers, and microwaves are limited. Residents of the nearby town live almost entirely offline. The isolation's not from distance, but from silence. There's no digital noise, no constant connection, and for some it's paradise, while for others it's unbearable. If Greenbank's isolation is made by human regulation, one other place achieves the same effect naturally. A plateau so high and dry it feels like another planet. Stretching 1,000 kilometers along Chile's coast between the Pacific and the Andes, the Atacama Desert is the driest non-polar desert on Earth. Some weather stations here have never recorded rain. The desert's isolation isn't only from people, it's from life itself. Air trapped between the cold Humboldt Current and the Andes Mountains removes moisture entirely. NASA tests Mars rovers here because the landscape and soil chemistry are nearly identical to the red planet. Few towns do exist. Small mining outposts and observatories are perched on ridges under skies so clear you see the Milky Way in daylight. And for hundreds of kilometers there are no rivers, trees, and often no sound except the wind moving over the salt flats. These places remind us that even in the age of satellites and global networks, vast portions of the planet remain almost unreachable. Isolation exists not as absence, but as identity. And in those corners, humanity meets the edge of the world and keeps living anyway. The world is full of mysteries, and we're here to crack them. Thanks for watching World Cracked. Be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.